Welcome back to the Don't Write That Book podcast, where you can learn how to write your bestseller and own your authorship. Follow along with us as we give you an insider's view of the book industry. Now, here are your hosts, myself, Mike Michalowicz, and AJ Harper. AJ, this is a miracle moment. We're starting 5 minutes after the hour because we're sorting out the technical stuff. The very first time with our new setup here that we were trying to sort out the tech stuff, I think it was 3 or 4 hours, and me like throwing punches at the wall. You saying, calm down.
That was when you set up the whole system, though.
Oh my God. You know, I guess it's like any other thing. Like, you know, that's what I used to do for a living was the tech stuff. So I'm like, I still got this. No, if you don't practice it, you lose the skill.
Well, how's your studio coming? Your in-house studio?
We took the carpet out yesterday. So this is, actually, something for our listeners right now. We have a YouTube channel. So you can see us live and you can see the great attire that I wear when recording this early in the morning. So check us out on YouTube. You just email us at hello@DWTBpodcast.com. We can send you details. But look for Don't Write That Book on YouTube and you get to see video of us. So we got to start dressing up. So
I mean, I did wear something different today. Normally, I don't care.
You have a sweat? Is that a sweater? It's a little grainy on my side.
No, that's a nice shirt.
It's pretty. It's pretty.
Thank you.
So this, where I am right now, is my home office, which is not the podcast studio. My son's old bedroom is going to become a podcast studio, and we just tore the carpet out. And then starting in November, myself and a buddy are going to start doing the changes, but we're really going to soundproof it. So the walls are coming down and special soundproofing is going in, but also we're putting, at least the plan is, these little, I don't know what they're called. I'm going to say grommets. They're definitely not grommets, but there's something that goes through or into the sheetrock, holds the sheetrock to the stud behind it, but it takes the vibration. So when there's sound, it vibrates. The sheetrock vibrates very mildly as opposed to allowing the sound to come through. The ultimate test is when the dog is upstairs running around barking at a deer that's come by is do I not hear him? So I wanted to share one thing when we're starting out here. This is for our YouTube folks. Check this out. So I got an upgrade this morning for, maybe it's a little bit blurry, but this is a flight I have coming up. And there's an interesting emotion that goes through me when this text comes through. It's like, you've been upgraded to first class for your flight on United. And it's like, oh, that's cool. I used to, AJ, when I get on a plane, I would be bitching and moaning to myself, oh, those people in first class, they're so rich, you know, oh. Now I realize those are the most miserable people because all they do is fly all the time. And you get this gratis upgrade because you're spending so much stupid money with United because you fly all the time. So next time you board an airplane and you see all those people in first class, they're miserable. That's my tip. Tip of the day.
All right. So I have an announcement.
Lay it on me.
On January 16th and 17th, I'm doing an authorship planning mastercraft, but it's different. So I usually do this every year, Mike. It's like a 4-hour deep dive, helping people figure out how to plan their year based on their authorship goals and making time for each component: book development, writing, editing, seeking a publisher, marketing, and then also monetization and other things. So what people don't understand is that there's so many components to authorship.
Yeah.
And then they freak out because they can't figure out, wait, how am I supposed to make time for all this? And then they also end up basing that decision on these weird arbitrary goals that they don't understand how to set in the first place. So they just pick random numbers like, I'm going to try and sell this many books. I'm going to try and do it this way. And then follow what other people do. And it's just all a mess.
Yeah.
And by the end of the year, they either haven't accomplished their goals or they're exhausted or super disappointed. But honestly, mostly all three. It's true. Mostly all three. And, you know, so I usually do a 4-hour thing and I have this little planner and workbook and it's great, but I wanted to go super deep on it, especially because I think people need so much help setting that sales goal. And I've finally perfected my formula, by the way, which I'll tell you about offline. And I had to get my dad to help me with the math.
Oh, wow.
Which he was delighted to. We have this tradition when I come to Minneapolis, he picks me up at the airport, takes me to my rental car because I'm cheap. I don't want to get the rental car at the airport because I want to save 24%
Sure.
in taxes. So my dad picks me up, drives me to the Enterprise in St. Paul at this dinky little Enterprise that they know me now.
Yeah.
And then we always go to the original Pancake House.
The original.
There's this restaurant in Minneapolis and St. Paul called the Original Pancake House.
Okay.
And they have pannenkoekens there. Have you ever had a pannenkoeken?
I have not had it.
It's like a Dutch baby.
Okay.
Have you had a Dutch baby?
Yeah. It's like pancakes in an oven, basically, if I remember correctly.
No, it's not pancakes in an oven. I'm going to make it for you sometime.
I know I've had it. Is there filling?
No.
Okay, then maybe.
I mean, you could have it.
Okay.
But anyway, I went with my dad to Original Pancake House and perfected the math on my formula on a yellow
From
pad.
the airport to the dinky Enterprise, you and your father.
The Original Pancake House is where we worked it out.
Oh, that's where you worked it out.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm excited because I'm not really a math person, but he helped me figure out the final part of the formula that had been missing.
So the dates are January?
January 16th and 17th, authorship planning workshop.
Okay.
I'm also bringing in mastercraft, sorry. I'm also bringing in a bunch of authors who are going to talk about how they balance all that out. Some of my authors, some authors that are in fiction, some are in nonfiction. And they're going to be talking about how do they balance their time daily, weekly for the year? How do they plan based on their goals? It's going to be amazing. And I want to give the Don't Write That Book listeners a $50 off the fee to come so they can use the code DWTB.
Okay. Where and what website do they go to sign up?
ajharper.com.
ajharper.com. Use DWTB. And similar to your ride from the airport to the dinky Enterprise, you're saving 24% or whatever it is in tax. You're saving $50.
Yeah, we're going to save $50.
Okay. I would like to attend that. I got to check my calendar. That's awesome.
Oh, you want to come so you can plan your year? You're so good at planning it.
Yeah, but still, like, I was meeting with some business owners this past week in Denver, and there was this exercise. You pick what mode you're in right now, and it was a baby or a teenager or an owl for your business. And I picked the baby, and they're like, "What? Are you being like facetious?" Yeah, and I said, "No, I'm just so curious. I think babies are so curious. They're looking at everything in wonder." And I said, I never want to leave this stage of wonder. And so I am curious about attending your event because I'm sure I will discover things that I don't know. I'll have realizations about myself. It'll just improve my book writing process.
You probably can't attend it though. I'm going to tell you why.
Oh, why?
You have a book coming out.
I do. A week later. Yeah, I know. 10 days later. Yeah.
Can you imagine?
Yeah. Hey, I can't talk right now.
But everybody, by the way, you can pre-order The Money Habit right now.
Yes.
So we hope you do that at your preferred retailer.
Yes.
You know what I wish people would do? I wish people would go into their indie bookstore and order it.
Yes. I was talking with indie bookstores yesterday. I was talking with Fiction Addiction I can't remember where she was based out of. And we're talking about the struggle indie bookstores have, which actually may be an interesting conversation at some point. But let's get to today's meat and potatoes. I want to talk about Steve Pressfield. Did you see that link I sent you?
You're the third person to send it to me.
Okay, good.
It's the Huberman episode.
The Huberman episode, really fascinating because it's a perspective you don't typically get. And we have some updates I want to share on The Money Habit, but let's kick into it. So for our listeners, you're listening to Don't Write That Book. My name is Mike Michalowicz. I'm co-hosting with my writing partner, AJ Harper. Today are going to tackle how do you know when you're done? And I think what's so interesting about this episode is we were prepping for it. My thought was the entirety of the book, which is true, but it's also when are you done with different phases and stages? Mm-hmm. One of the worst sales traits a salesperson can have is when they oversell. Like the sale has been made and then they continue to sell and they actually unwind the sale. And I see this in books. The book is almost there or it's there and then we over polish it and it loses its luster. That's my perception. Before we kick it off, one thing I appreciate about you is the breadth, BREDTH, of your vocabulary, AJ.
Oh, it's not really that great, actually. Thank you, though.
Yeah, it is. It's a lot greater than mine. So maybe admiration is a form of comparison. But there's a couple of elements around that I admire. One is you can pull one word from your mind and experience that represents 3 or 4 words in a phrase. So it makes sentences tighter. Mm-hmm. You just speak much more coherently than myself or many people I know. So just wanted to share that.
That's nice. Thank you. I want to say I admire you for taking on new things with this Money Habit launch. We were in the runway meeting with Page 2 yesterday, and you were in your car. It was a rough day, but I'm impressed with how much you've adapted to this. You have way more pre-orders than you've ever had.
Yeah, especially this early on, because as of this recording, the book is still 3-4 months out. So
yeah, you guys are killing it. But one of the things that I think you do, and you're not just doing it this time, but you do it every time, is you will adapt. You will find a new way, try new things. And it's just cool to see how excited everyone at Page 2 is, and they're getting to see how you are, And I don't think that you always had that kind of regular feedback from other publishers. So it's nice to see.
Have not. It was fun to see the joy on Leslie Boodle's face, who's leading this. She's like, you wouldn't believe this. I'll give the update at the very end, how many books we have already ordered.
I like that people see you and get you. And
yeah, this guy's crazy and it's working. Okay. Thank you for sharing that stuff. I usually say at the end, let me say it right now, go to ajharper.com immediately, apply that code. Is there a limited number of seats or is it unlimited?
No.
Okay, good.
It's unlimited.
All right, so you're guaranteed
to get in. Which is not normal for me.
You're guaranteed to get in, but use that code. Don't give it to a non-listener. If you're going to share that code and say, guys, secret code, you can get $50. Do me a favor to make sure they're subscribed to Don't Write That Book. All right, we received a request. Why don't you set the stage here for us?
When I'm chatting with my students or the people in my membership community, I often say, hey, what do you guys want us to talk about on Don't Write That Book? Because they're avid listeners. They're every single week mandatory listening. So thank you to everybody who does that. We really appreciate it. But I will often ask, hey, what do you want us to talk about? So we get some good ideas. And this started a whole discussion about wondering, when are you done with certain components? And so we're going to be talking about it in 2 different episodes. This one's more about the book, but then other people started talking about, how does this apply to marketing? So this started off with Kristen Wheeler and Elena King, who are 2 of my students, wondering, how do you know you're done with different components? And they each had different aspects, but we'll get into them on this episode. And I think it's a worthy discussion. You can get stuck worrying that you have to stay in this one stage of working on the book and then you never get out of it.
Yeah. And I think that's the best way to break it down, is to go through stages. I want to show something. Whoops. This is on my wall. So check this out here for our YouTubers. You'll get, this is the Money Habit deadlines.
From the email?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So as we move along, these are all the different deadlines are coming about, and it's super helpful. I think specifically for me is when there's a deadline, that's when it's due. Like having a deadline allows me to stop the tinkering and overthinking. Is that a technique as we go through all this, deadlines?
I mean, sure. You also have to set some of your own. They can also backfire on you if you're being too aggressive in the development phase. But keep in mind that to even get that schedule, you and I had about 1.5 years of work before we got the schedule.
Yeah, that's true. So let's go through the different stages. In the notes here, you have book development. That's the first major stage?
Yeah. So that's when I have an idea for a book. So you want to get your, who's it for and what's your core message and what's the promise, and outlining is part of that, and thinking it through. And that's its own process. A lot of people rush through it And a lot of people also get stuck trying to tinker when wordsmithing, one word for another and then get stuck in that trap. But so it's both. People rush too fast, but then they also can get stuck worrying that it's not perfect.
Okay. So maybe to know when we're done, like, how do you know you're rushing too fast, or when do you know it's not done for book development? What's missing? And then when do you know it is done?
Okay. So here's where people are rushing too fast with book development. They are not, they don't have as much knowledge about their reader as they think they do. When I'm teaching and I ask people to come up with what I call a reader statement, and I challenge them on it, and then they don't have the answers for my questions, that means they need to go back and learn more about their reader, do a poll, do a survey, get a focus group together, something. Look at your notes from the people that you serve. We make assumptions about what our reader wants and what our reader thinks is getting in their way. We superimpose what we think it is and what we want for them. And so when you can't actually answer, is this what they would say they want? Like, for example, with the money habit, we spent a lot of time. Do they want financial freedom? Oh, wait, no, that's the other audience. That's the entrepreneur audience.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
That's not what the general public looking for help with personal finance is wanting. And we settled on people who don't want to worry about money.
Hands down, that was the overarching demand or desire. And it's contrary to me, the author, the entrepreneur. At least my relation with money is I want to have financial freedom, which means to not worry about bills at any time, never have to worry about bills, but also to be able to be living in a way that's carefree financially enough that I can just say, oh, yeah, let's do that. Let's fly down to the islands or something. And the people we were interviewing, the majority said, I just want to make sure that my mortgage is taken care of and I'm living this particular lifestyle. And I don't want to have that worry. I've now been speaking on stage about it with regularity. And I relate it to tonight. So we have in the book this ringing in the ears, and we want that squelched. We want that worry, that low level, consistent, almost subconscious worry to go away. That was the lesson we learned. Any other kind of things we need to check off the list to make sure we have that included in the book development?
Yeah, well, usually people get core message wrong and they move too fast through it. Core message is perspective shift, and it's usually something that defies conventional wisdom. But I'm really hardcore about core message. I think it needs to be something that's transformational on its own. And so people tend to, first of all, they don't know what it is. They confuse it with other things like taglines, promises, elevator pitches, book summaries, mission statements. It's none of those things. It's this perspective shift. And so it takes a while to get that right. It could take a few weeks of actively working on it. But once you get it, once you get the essence of it, oh yeah, that's the perspective shift. Where you can get stuck, how do you know you're done? Well, if a person can repeat it easily, if it's clear and easy to understand, a person can repeat it easily and it can be transformational on its own. But where you're going to get stuck is if you try and trade one word for another. You're just wordsmithing. Well, is it robin's egg blue or is it navy blue? No one cares. It's blue. No one cares. So you can get caught up in, should it be exactly this word or that word? So the words do matter in the sense that it has to be clear, but people get a little bit stuck twisting and turning. If the ultimate meaning doesn't change and it's really clear, then don't get stuck there. Just keep going. You can always tinker later. And sometimes when you're writing, you'll tweak it later. So keep going.
I like that word, the phrase you said, when it can be transformational on its own. That's a great acid test. And it sounds like once it can be transformational on its own, you're there. And then there's this over tweaking. I find when it comes to different courses I've taken, professional courses, through the internet or in person, or provided them, there's a certain contingency of students who never feel they have enough knowledge. And there's almost this safety net in learning more as opposed to applying and doing or moving on. It's that kid in college who's like, I'm a senior, my 10th year. I'm a 10th year senior. Do you see that happening? Why don't people move on? Maybe is the question.
Oh, they're just afraid.
Yeah, that's
they're just afraid. Yeah.
Afraid of the next step, I think. Afraid of being out there in the wild or whatever the next step is.
Listen, writing a book is more confronting than almost anything. It challenges you in ways that speaking doesn't. Speaking is always heralded as this, core fear. But I think writing a book brings up way more.
There's one other activity, at least for me, that's as confronting. And it's when I am looking through the refrigerator and can't find the ketchup. And I go, hey, hon, where's the ketchup? And she comes over and she goes, oh my God. And it's literally right in front of my eyes. My hand's resting on top of the cap. And I'm like, where is it?
This happens to me as well, except I'm in your wife's role. Yeah. The other day, my wife brought me coffee with oat milk. And I said, what the hell?
You're not an oat milk drinker.
Oh God.
And you've been married how long?
She's, I'm trying to remember, 27, 20, like a year after you. How long have you been married?
We're 27, so you're 26.
26.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No,
You are 27. We just turned 28.
You're 28.
We said 28. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
At any rate.
Okay.
So I just have to tell you this. I said, why didn't you put half and half? And she said, because it's not in the fridge. I said, it's in the fridge. She said, I looked everywhere. I said, she said, where is it? I said, right in front of your face, right on the middle of the main shelf, right there.
The one that says half and half, the words on it.
Right on the edge. Yeah.
Isn't that funny?
Why don't you see it? I want to know. Why don't you see it? It's literally right in front of your face.
That's so funny.
Anyway, so
book development's done.
Move on from your book development when you feel like you know your reader very, very well.
Okay.
And you have a message that's easy to communicate, that doesn't require an explanation, easy to repeat, and transformational on its own. Move on.
Okay. Nailed it. Now give me the next step.
Part of book development is also testing your content.
Okay.
So people can get caught up in that a little too much. Testing your content. I wish more people would do it, Mike.
Give me an example of what you mean by that.
So you can test, for example, those reader statements and core messages as well, where you can get people to, give you feedback on what resonates with them. But, I'm talking about frameworks, processes, systems. You are very good at testing to see, does this work? Where is it difficult? Where are you getting too complicated? I'd say your Achilles heel, Mike, is that you are fine with a lot of complicated steps. You're good with that.
Agreed. I think the best example of that in our work together was Fix This Next.
Yes.
In that the challenge I have is once the complexity becomes clear, I'll let the complexity stay. So
right.
So I'm like, oh, I get it now. So this makes sense because my assumption is if I get it, anyone can get it. The challenge, I don't know if you asked me to do this or I decided to do it, but I went to an entrepreneurial group with our questions. So we had 25, 30 questions that if they answer, we can identify what's wrong in their business. And so this group, I said, hey, I want to run a quick test. I'm going to give this to everybody. And once you complete it, we'll identify what you need to fix in your business. And they're all business owners. So like, oh, that sounds great. I said, would you please do this? And so I hand out the paper and everyone diligently looks down. It's like a third grade class test. One of the teachers looking around and I'm like, is anyone cheating? And about a minute into it, one person puts their pen down and starts scrolling through their phone. Another person walks away. Chatter starts happening. I'm like, what's going on here? Did we finish it that fast? Most people got not even a third through and just gave up on it. It's like,
and the other people were angry with you.
And some people got angry. Yeah, and this is like ridiculous and it's time consuming, which is exactly what you want. The feedback. It's painful. Mm-hmm. But it's exactly the feedback you want. And we radically improved the system from that point forward.
Yeah. So what you want to do is test those things. And you did that with the money habit by,
deploying
long-term testing.
Yeah.
Yes. Deploying it, teaching it. Where are there problems? I think that's really helpful to do before you are trying to put forth a framework. It's frustrating to me when people say, well, I've only worked on this with myself. Okay. Well, you got to put it out into the world a little bit. So you can how do you know you're done? When you have enough proof that what you're doing works for people, you need to be able to see some sort of result.
I interviewed a mathematician for one of the books we did together. And she explained to me, I think this is Forget Different. She explained that once to get statistical or mathematical significance, you got to test 10% of a population. So if there's 1,000 people that potentially could buy from you and you want to see if your new ad works, you got to see if 100 people bite on that ad. And if you get a high conversion rate, that's indicative that the entire population, 1,000, will do it. And the example continues. If your population is 10,000, well, you guys test 1,000. But for readers, you may have 5 million readers. So that means you have to have 500,000 people going through this before.
Not realistic.
It's not realistic.
Yeah.
So the next step, she said, is 10% of the population is ideal. She goes, but a minimum sampling, as a rough rule of thumb, is you got to try it out with 100 individuals, period. And so I was like, oh, that's really cool. And I think many authors, to your point, test it on themselves, their brother-in-law, and maybe one other person. So they have to make 2 or 3 tests out there, and that isn't adequate. Getting to that 100 person or test threshold is daunting until you start approaching it and you start seeing how much the refining of your content, your system, I should say, improves near the end. I found with the Money Habit, the people that are interested in doing it and going through it, well, they're uber fans of the work, and they'll just do what I say, and they'll say, yeah, it's working amazingly, just because they want to stay in my good graces, it feels like. But it's when I started kind of breaking past that first group of supporters that there's individuals that aren't familiar with me. And another thing you did is you brought in people that had never heard of me before and ran a test. And that's where I think the real truth came from.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. Is you if you're going to do a test, it needs to be on your ideal readers, and preferably not people who are super biased, meaning they're really familiar with the content already. But let's just, when can it get out of hand? You're trying to get bigger numbers for that, more and more people. Also, you might already have been doing the testing and you don't realize it. If you are every day in the trenches with people, you're testing.
Okay.
So it's that's
a great point. That's a great point.
Yeah. So I have, one of the people who brought this up, Kristen Wheeler, she's doing her work with people on a regular basis, working in corporations, talking through all of her systems and processes with them, all of her ideas, and she's getting real-time feedback. That's all that needs to happen. It's just when people are creating in a vacuum and they're not testing the content, that's an issue. But you don't have to go overboard where you're spending years doing it. Unless it's not working, it might take years if it's not working. You've definitely had things that you're working on that has taken time for you to figure out how to do in a way that can be translated to a book.
Most of the ideas, we started working on a concept, the bear retreat, the one when the bear was in the pond. And it was how to sell your business. And I had a core concept that had been tested only in bits and pieces and was more observational information than real deployment of this stuff. And it wasn't ready to be baked. It wasn't a Dutch pancake or whatever that thing is you're talking about. At least it wasn't. It was a gooey, disgusting one. And I'm continuing to test it. So a few opportunities have presented themselves to help a business through a transaction of selling. More are presenting themselves. And so we're testing this content. Well, that goes back, when was that? 3-4 years ago, that trip? I don't think this book will be done likely for another 4 or 5 years. This is a type of process. Selling a business is a long process. And I can't just say, hey, this weekend, let's just run 10 tests on this. They come as they come, and 10 tests may happen over a year or two or longer. So that's an example of something that just needs to stay in that oven for a long time.
But you know what's funny? I mean, sometimes, so I'm working on 2 books right now. And
you have me so fired up about this, and you're so top secret. This is awesome.
I'm doing 2. And oh man, there's one thing that I've haven't tested into completion, but I'm so desperate to get it out that I'm going to probably just share it. So, and then I'm going to update it on a regular basis, because that was a big, I'm being cagey right now, but how long am I going to wait to tell people something that I know is working.
Yeah.
And it's going to shift them in a major way, even though I don't have good use studies yet. What am I going to do? I'm going to do it anyway. So I want to tell you out there, if you feel confident that this is going to be a game changer, then there might be some other ways around things. I mean, I think you should test your stuff. I've been testing some of my stuff for a couple of years, but I don't have really good use cases for the book yet. So what I'm doing is I'm working on getting the use cases right now. And here's what I'm going to do. Instead of having the use cases in the book, because timing wise, I don't think it's going to work, I'm going to be releasing the use cases as additional content in the audiobook and then additional content that it's like a bonus. So sometimes the things that you want to put in the book, you can't get in the book because the timing doesn't work for when you have to get it out. And so you can find another way to deliver the thing. So I'm just saying, don't let things hold you up from something that you know needs to get out into the world.
I met with a aspiring author. It's going to be her first book, and she has a profound concept. We call it a ride back to the airport together. This is just a couple days ago. And I said, what's the profound concept? And she shared it with me, and it is profound. And I don't want to spoil it because it's like an Occam's razor type thing. Very simple, but transformative. And I'm like, wow, most authors won't freely share it. She's like, well, that's stupid. She's like, I'm testing. She goes, what's your thoughts? And then she analyzed me in this drive back. She had like 14 questions. She's taking notes. She pulls out her voice recorder. I'm like, oh, so smart. I think there's a fear. I think we've talked about this a lot in the past, maybe a full episode on the fear of putting content out there. She was the exact opposite. She was testing and playing around with it. When do you know you're done? When are we moving on to the next stage?
With testing?
Well, no, I know. Back to the outline you're talking about. So I'm sorry, I kind of conflated.
Now we're in the outline. So this was actually one of the questions Alana King had.
Yeah.
And because she's wondering, she wants to, she did her outline, then she's writing, then she feels the urge to go back and tweak the outline. And she's wondering, is that okay? And how much of that tinkering is just too much where you're getting stuck in outline land? I think if you write the outline and you take the time to write an expanded transformational outline, I'm talking super detailed, and you've really thought about the reader journey, then you sit down and write, but you feel the urge to go back and tweak the outline, I think you should follow the urge. I don't think there's anything wrong. It's just your need to get clarity again, and you want to pull back and get that clarity. I do that when I'm working on books with you, where we make some changes. Okay, I need to get a visual on this. I need to see the flow again, because if you get caught up in the document, it can be overwhelming. And sometimes you just need to pull out and see that high level outline. But what you don't want to do is stop writing. So my advice is to just allow time for both in your schedule. That's like, this is my outlining time, but I'm also going to keep writing.
So we produce for The Money Habit, the lost content. And this is the most comprehensive one ever. What happened? What is the lost content? This is stuff that didn't make it to the cutting floor.
Yeah. I sent that to you, right? Did I send that to you?
You did.
Yeah. Okay.
But I also had a collection of stuff like this 75 titles that we tried for the book that we considered.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know you were going to add that too.
Yeah.
That's neat.
So we really, this is the best lost content ever. And one of them was, I have my handwritten notes in the book, like in the lost content. And one of them is us changing chapters around. So it's scrolled and scratched. My handwriting is like a doctor, but at least I can read it. And so you see the chapters, and this is while we're actively writing and we're moving entire chapters, and you see me just draw the line, say, oh yeah, inserts here, inserts there. So an outline is properly baked when it's what? And just reiterate, when do you move on to the next stage past the outline, even though you may go back to it?
When your outline is respects the reader journey, when your outline has considered them the entire time, and when you feel like it's maybe 80% there, and you can start writing. Because you're going to shift it as you write, and you're going to shift it as you edit. That's normal. That will happen. It's not a sign of anything bad. But if you're feeling the urge to go back and rework it while you're writing, I think you should follow the urge as long as you keep writing. It's as simple as that. Just don't quit writing.
This is gold when it respects the reader's journey. There's these certain sound bites you say. It's like, oh my gosh, that is it. I hope our listeners write that down. What happens next after the outline?
Well, now you're writing, and this is where people start to feel like, I don't know when I'm done. Well, okay. So you need to start thinking, I'm just going to get the words on the page. That's the first draft. There's what you're worried about is editing those words. So that's not, I really make the distinction. I'm just getting words on the page first. So there should not be anything you're laboring over in that respect.
That's a tremendous insight, because this was a point of confusion and caused tension in our relationship, because we'd have a deadline coming and you're like, it's not ready yet. When you were sending it, you were delivering the most polished, perfect, right? And you, the master of this, felt uncomfortable sharing something that wasn't fully complete, in your opinion. And then we had discussions around that, and now you'll send me stuff that's still in a draft phase. So, and I think it still gives you some kind of agita to be sending this thing over that's not perfect.
I'm good now.
Oh, good. And
but you know why, Mike? But listen, Mike, remember when we met, I was a ghostwriter.
Yeah.
And there are clients who, if I didn't send them something polished, because they didn't understand the creative process. They didn't understand that I just needed to get some initial feedback and then we're going to keep going. In their mind, that was the thing. That's how it was going to be.
Yeah, that's a great point.
So if I didn't do it, if I didn't send it the very best I could, then I would get this. I don't think you understand my book. Like, I do understand your book. I just need to get feedback on these two things.
Yeah.
So I had been, by the time we met, in the habit of not, I'm not doing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But in our relationship, it wasn't working because it's a collaborative yin and, back and forth, back and forth.
Yeah. You deliver clay.
But when we're talking about writing the first draft, just knock that thing out. You should not be, how do you know when you're done? When you've completed the outline. That's how you know you're done. What people think is, when it's good. It's not going to be good. It's going to be just terrible. It's not going to be good.
I hope someone listening in writes that down a million times. Don't write to be good. Not at this stage.
No, then it's editing. Everything after that is editing.
I'm going to show you something, see if I can find it. Here it is. So I've never shown this before to you. This is my journal when I started this in around 2008, 2009. I can see it right there. It says 2009.
I think that's when we started working together, 2008. No.
Yeah, right around then. But I started journaling because I was going through depression. Now, this is self-diagnosed, but it was functional depression because of just the monetary situation I put myself in and this whole identity shift and all this stuff. Well, in writing in this, and I rarely go back to it, but there are certain stages. I'm just dumping. This was on September 6, 2017. And then just dump. It's just a dump of information or stuff. The idea of journaling is just to get it out. So it's the cheapest form of talk therapy on the planet because you just grab a pad and you just let it out. It used to, and why there's literally electric tape covering this, is it used to say Mike's Success Journal. That's such a bro-y mentality, but that's what I thought was what you do. You write down, what did I achieve today? This is a good day. And you're actually squashing all the other realities that happened. Well, what I find is writing's like, and this took me a while to really appreciate, but writing is like journaling. Just vomit that stuff out, get it all out, and don't worry about if it makes sense or something. It's just giving your mind that relief. And in there, like a muddy river, there is specks or sometimes chunks of gold. But if you don't get it all out and you're just trying to filter for it, you'll never get to it.
Oh, wait, writing isn't like journaling?
To me, it is.
Yeah, but it's not, because journaling is whatever comes to mind. When you're writing a book, you are writing to the outline. And so now I'm going to write this story and I'm going to write this teaching point and I know roughly where it goes. Journaling is just
we're going to aggressively agree, I think. I 100% agree. It's an alignment.
I just don't want anybody like, I'm just going to journal my book.
Do not write about anything.
Don't journal your book, please.
I'm just saying.
Don't do that.
Correct. 100% correct. The methodology I use is the same as journaling. whatever is on my mind, I dump into a journal. Whatever is the subject in the outline, I dump my mind around that.
Okay. Yes, that's what you should do.
Yeah,
correct.
Okay.
All right. I just had a panic moment.
What do they call that? Like not aggressive agreement, I guess was the right term. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So we're saying the same thing.
When are you done with the
what
first
people
draft?
are confused about is they think they're not done with writing the first draft because they don't like how it reads. They don't think it sounds good. They don't think it's anybody's going to read it. Okay. You're not far off base. If you were to turn it in right then and turn it into a book, that's accurate. But you're confusing writing from editing. So you're done with writing when you have completed your outline.
Yeah.
That's it.
I love that. Then what's the next stage?
Editing.
Okay.
And where this is a longer process than people think, and it's multifaceted. But you need to do a self-edit before you move on. I had a student ask me, why do I need to self-edit if I have a publisher? Isn't my editor going to help me through that process? Well, yes and no, but you need to put your best foot forward with your editor. If you have a traditional publisher or a top-tier hybrid, your editor is going to do substantive edits, the big picture stuff to make sure that a book actually works, right? Mm-hmm. But there's two passes. There's the first pass where they're doing the really high level moves, right? Then there's a second pass, which has maybe a line edit in it. Okay. Then we're moving on to copy edit. You got two passes. So your first, that's it. But to get a book in shape could be many, many, many drafts. So what are you going to do? Give them a hot mess and you got two passes, but you really still need to bake it longer. You really still have more to do. There's the other factor, which is editors can only do so much, right? We don't fix every single thing at the same time. So you're limiting the editor's ability to do things if you turn over what we would call as editors a heavy lift, right?
Yep.
So I want you to do a self-edit. I actually have directions on my whole methodology for that in my book, Write a Must Read. There's several chapters on it. So you can take yourself through a sequential process. It's the same process that I use when I'm working on books with you, Mike, or my own book or my students. You just need to follow a step-by-step process of checking everything to make sure that you've done what you need to do. So that when you turn into the editor, you're giving them, I've done all I can with my ability. This is the best I can do. And I've made sure all these things I need to do are done. And now I'm turning it into you. So you're done editing when you completed that checklist. And again, if you say, what's the checklist? You can literally just go get the checklist from my book. The whole thing is in there. If you follow that, I swear to God, you'll be turning in a manuscript where your editor will be like, what the heck? Who's this person? Because they're used to... Yeah. So anyway, you're done editing when you've completed your checklist of the things that are important for you in this book.
You put a little jersey there. You're like, I swear to God. I swear.
I did.
You did. You totally did. I consider it, in the phrase I've been using for myself, helped. I call it the handoff. So I used to think they were phases, but phases feel like it's too nebulous. So there's a handoff where that baton goes from yourself, the author, the writer, to the editor, and now they're running with it. So you got to give a clean handoff, and that's that iterative process. What happens next? What stage are we at now?
Well, now you're at substantive edits with your publisher or someone you've contracted with if you're self-publishing.
Okay. When do you know it's done?
The good thing is the editor's going to tell you.
They're going to tell you when it's done.
They're going to be like, yeah, we're ready to go to production. Or they might say we're ready to go to copy edit, whatever language they use. This is one of the benefits. Yeah. Writing a book is collaborative and you aren't on your own to make those decisions. Of course, if in your gut, you're feeling like something's not right.
Yeah.
You can explore that, but trust some of the experts that you're working with.
Trust the gut. Okay. So that's the substantive edit. What's the next stage?
Copy edit.
Okay. When do we know we're done?
Again, the editor's going to be like, we're done. Now, here's the thing. You can't always count on editor. I've had some authors with some bad perspectives or experiences where they had copy editors where they weren't doing a terrific job. Mm-hmm. So you just want to, what you need to do is vet those people as best you can. And if you start to feel like something's off, it's worth talking to your publisher and saying, I feel like they're missing things. Can we have a conversation about this? So, it's not a blanket trust if you're feeling like this doesn't seem right to me. But on the whole, you're going to be done when the copy editor says, okay, we're ready to go.
Is there any indicators you're like, oh, this editor is not performing to the standard that I expect?
You're seeing things that you think should have been fixed.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you can kind of,
oh my gosh, I had a student who had a copy editor from a top tier hybrid, not page 2. She butchered it. And now copy editors are not supposed to take out big chunks of content. They're not supposed to just take a chainsaw to your manuscript. So that was a sign that this person doesn't understand what copy editing is. And we just threw that whole thing out.
I wouldn't say page 2 is a top tier hybrid. I'd say they are the top tier.
Well,
hybrid.
Top tier is my term. I had to come up with something for my students to say, who are the hybrids that are selective and run like a traditional publisher versus some others that are more like a factory and they take anyone?
Yeah.
Of the top tier hybrids, page 2 is number 1.
Bar none. It's not even a race. So that's the copy edit. What's the next stage? And when do we know we're done?
So then how do you know you're done with the proofread is the other piece.
Okay. So how do you know you're done with the proofread?
Okay, this I want to say, you have got to double check your stuff. So when I get past pages and I'm looking and comparing, first we give the notes to them. I want to see it again. I need to see it to make sure that the changes were actually made. And I always find additional problems. Either they didn't make all the changes or when they made the changes, new problems came up. So I check I ask to see it back every time.
This is the most surprising thing to me, not in this moment, but as an author, that when a proofread was done, all the edits from the author, us collectively, is submitted back to the publisher, that they actually didn't do all the changes that we asked. And it confounded me because it's all documented. It's so easy. But I see it with every publisher. So those problems have happened with Penguin, with page 2, with large firms, boutique firms. Do you have and you're a publisher, you were a publisher, you sold your company.
Yep.
Why do those edits that are written, documented, why do they get missed?
Well, so there's a difference between, say, one that they choose not to make for whatever reason, and they'll give you an explanation, and then some that just aren't made. Human error, man. It's just simple. We're just human beings. Sometimes we miss stuff. Yeah,
and when you work with a live document, one thing I noticed is we do our edits on paper, but you have to submit it now through a PDF and so forth. When you're changing a Word document, for example, and you add a sentence, you move a sentence, like whole things shift, and it gets really, really confusing. That process of saying, please respond with all the edits that were made, I would say maybe less than 5% are missed in some capacity, but maybe like 1% or 2%. And you catch those. And that's significant. It's worth the extra time.
It's worth the extra time. So you're done with your proofread when you've determined that all of the corrections that needed to be made were made.
Any other stages that we should address to know when you're done? Okay.
Get it, sell it, publish it,
put
it out in the world.
Do it. Yeah. So I want to do a couple of book updates real quick. So with the money habit, yesterday we had a call. My mom had a little incident. She was fine and just really she needed the comfort of someone being there. So I was working from my mom's house. She lives down the road from me, and I ran out. I was there the entire morning. I skipped eating. And so now we had this one call. This is the only time I have time to eat because the other calls I was doing was like interviews and stuff, and you can't have a sandwich in your mouth. So I ran out to get that sandwich while we're doing that call, and watching the expressions of the team from page 2. So Trina was there, and then there was like Leslie Boodle was there. Victoria was there. There was quite a group, and the reporting. Now today, it's important to share the recording date. So we're recording this on October 23rd. This probably won't be broadcast till the new year because we want to be intentionally ahead of our rollouts of these episodes.
I think that we're in December on this. Yeah.
This one's in December. Okay. They're like, this is going so well. So as we produce this show, AJ, I'm taking notes for my own launch. So a couple ideas came out of this. You shared an idea on marketing a while back that we deployed. You and I had the great debate over bulk sales, which you dominated. And I therefore took those concepts that you shared and said, we're doing this. We have, is it 5,000 orders at this point? Mm-hmm. And we're still 3 months out from the launch. So that's really good. And from the perspective of the publisher, it's extraordinarily good. We are ordering, as of right now, 16,000 books for the first print run. Just comparatively, historically, even my most recent books with Penguin, after the success of Profit First, was 10,000 they would order in advance. So this is already already overshadowing that. Mm-hmm. And they, as we get more and more bulk orders coming in, we haven't even done the big push yet, that may go up. The kind of hack I want to share, a couple of things I want to share also in the marketing. One idea we failed to do, and this was just a total miss by us. It was something you suggested in an episode that went live actually in October. Do you ever listen to our episodes?
Wait, I used to because I was nervous that it didn't sound good, but I have to confess, I don't listen anymore.
So I listen, I would say.
Well, wait, I listened to the 100th episode because I had to write an email about it.
Okay.
And then I just about peed my pants listening to it. That's the one where we read the letter.
But, that's the grandma letter?
And actually, as we're recording today, it's the 100th episode release day while we're recording.
Okay,
today.
I haven't listened to that one yet. I've been so I listen to 1 to 2 episodes that we roll out per month. So about half our shows, not even. Mm-hmm. But I've been waiting for the grandma one because it's so funny. But I will tell you, I'm on an airplane because I'm always on airplanes right now, and that's a blessing. It means I'm busy. And it's the one when you you do the Prince open with the voice alternator.
I can't believe you got me to do that.
It is so funny. But in one of the episodes that came out in October, you said, record audio of the people you actually interviewed and insert them in the book. We missed that one because I reached out to Kelsey and she's like, oh my gosh, we did put that in our docket. We didn't do it. But we did record all these different experts, including a few days ago was the last recording we got in was Jean Chatzky, who's famous for her personal finance expertise. She was on the Today Show, I think, for 20 years consecutively. She writes for ARP magazine now. She's adorable. She's going to come to Authors for Authors now. She's in.
Oh, amazing.
She's my new best friend and she doesn't even know it. So that happened. We're deploying these different marketing elements that we're talking about on the show live. And the last thing I wanted to share about the money habit is, we have a mock-up, if you will. Even though the book's not coming out for 3 more months, it's not even printed yet. I'm doing podcasts actively starting 2 months ago about it. And people say, hey, tell me about the book. And most podcasts now are video. There's video constantly. Mm-hmm. Get the dust cover printed up. And so I have the dust cover so I can hold the book up and say, here it is. Because when it goes live, the book's going to be printed. But it's funny, it's a blank book. So you open it, it's like a stage gun where it's just a blank. You flip through it, the pages are literally blank. Mm-hmm. But that's just one idea I wanted to share with our audience. I think that's the core updates for the money habit.
Okay, cool.
All right. Next week, we're going to talk about how to know when you're done, part 2. And this is more about the marketing elements.
Yeah. I was surprised at the questions, which we'll share on the next episode. I was surprised at what my students were saying about it. I didn't think, wait, what do you mean? How do you know you're done with your marketing?
And you're going to give us the gospel. You're going to give us the gospel on letting perfectionism go. I'm also going to reveal for our YouTube channel subscribers a little card that I kept because I think for me, it's the funniest card I've ever gotten from one of my children. So that's going to be the big reveal. And I want to remind our guests, go to ajharper.com. She's got January 16th and 17th is going to be a transformative experience for you. Yeah, but you got to sign up. Use that code DWTB. Don't be a schnook and tell everyone else about it because they're not. They got to listen to the show to earn that.
No, tell people, man.
Okay. Tell people. You have the permission from the author herself, the creator herself. And please get AJ's book, Write a Must Read. And you're listening right now. You go, Mike, you always pitched a book. I already have a copy. Get a second copy. You got to have one in your travel bag. Have one on your shelf, like I do, right? It's here on the shelf somewhere. It's my special autograph section. So it's got to be right there. Oh yeah, there it is. So you can't see where I'm pointing, but in my E, in the middle, I have my autograph book section, and it holds a spot there. I don't read that one anymore. That's the one I want to just be looking at and reminded of it. So I have another book in my travel bag so I can refer to it. Do the same. And if you're a entrepreneurial author, we're looking for authors. We just actually signed someone indirectly through the show to our imprint. Awesome. Actually, a duo team, 2 authors. Email us at hello@dwtbpodcast.com and use the word simplify at the top if that's of interest to you. Also visit our website. It's dwtbpodcast.com to get our free materials and sign up for our email list. I want to thank you. I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank you for being supporters of our show. I want to thank you for the questions you submit. This show is just a blast to produce. And we, AJ and I, hope you are getting so much value out of this. But don't forget this part. If anything else, please don't write that book. There's so many of that books coming out now. Don't write that book. Write the greatest book you can.